Welcome to Short Game Long Talk, a video game podcast where we play short games and talk about them for a long time. My name is Eric, and I'm joined always by my co-host Jess.
Hi.
And we are joined again by two very special guests. We have creative director of Venba, Abhi. Abhi, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And creative director of A Thousand Times Resist, Remy Siu. Hey, Remy, how are you?
Good. Thank you again for having me on this show.
Yeah. So a little backstory on what we played is a game called Outer Wilds that Remy mentioned. That is something that him and Abhi talk about basically every time they're in the same room together. So that's why we're here. And you guys had just recently mentioned that you guys did a stream playing this game. So you mentioned beforehand that you're on the Outer Wilds tour right now.
Yeah, we're on our own Outer Wilds tour.
Unofficial.
Not unofficial. It's not sponsored by Mobius. Unless Mobius would like to sponsor us.
It could.
So if anybody from Mobius is listening to this right now,
Yeah.
you can consider sponsoring Abhi and
If you wanted to stop talking about it.
Yeah, then you could pay us. Because
Right.
but if you're not going to pay us, then we're going to keep talking about it.
Right.
So,
yeah. Threaten with a sponsorship to silence you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you
Exactly.
actually wanted to hear more about, Venba or 1000 Times Resist, that's too bad. You have to mail. You have to send mail to Mobius Digital and ask them to pay us out to stop talking about Outer Wilds.
Right. Exactly.
yeah.
That's a good deal. I mean, it would suck. You would have to stop talking about clearly one of your favorite games of all time. But, that
Yeah.
you are technically sponsored by the game at the same time.
Yeah, we yes.
This is just our notice me senpai kind of gap.
Well, hey,
Yeah.
I'll send it to them when this is published in a couple weeks. I'll let them know. Like, hey,
Yeah, you
two
should
very
do-
big
yeah.
fans. Yeah.
We should send it to them.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
probably
Yeah.
this will probably be up in the next week or two, so it should be ready to go pretty soon. Which one of you would like to talk about the game, like what it means to you in the first place? Because is this something you were paying attention to while it was being developed? Did it come out of nowhere? Like, what's your origin with this game?
Okay. I played it. I think 2019. I think that's when it came out. Also,
I believe so.
Yeah. So I think in general I keep an eye out for interesting indie games and all of that. And I think there's a strong word of mouth for Outer Wilds. But I think it's one of those games that immediately really hooked me very strongly. I was working at a mobile game studio back then, and at lunch I would not shut up about Outer Wilds, and as you can see, not much has changed.
It's been 6 years and still happening.
Yeah, and every day I would be like, "Oh, I'm playing this, and it's so cool, it's so great." And if they ask "Okay, what's so cool? What's so great?" I'm like, "I can't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to play it." And just one other person I think in the office played, and we used to talk a lot about it. But yeah, I think it's left a very lasting impact. And I think it's one of the few games that really tie together story, gameplay, game design, narrative design. And it's like a masterclass in each one. And I think any other game, if they were as excellent in just one department, they would be very lucky. But Outer Wilds did all of that really gracefully. So it's something that I really look up to in terms of inspiration.
Yeah. How about you, Remy?
Yeah, I think I played it also in 2019. It was just out for it made me install the Epic Game Store because I guess it was only out on Epic Games Store first. Can I say that? Yeah, yes I can.
Okay.
I can express my opinion about no, I loved Epic Game Store. It's just that I hadn't had it installed. That's all.
It's just another thing, right, to install.
Yeah, I just didn't have
get
it,
you.
and so I installed it because I think it was free.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think they were, or it was only an exclusive.
Might have been an agency.
Yeah. So I tried playing it on my TV, but then I immediately got overwhelmed by the motion.
Yeah.
So I switched back to playing PC. I don't know. I think I I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know. I don't even know how I found out about it. I just started playing it, and I think it was like so completely blind. I didn't know that there was a loop. I didn't know that there was any of it. So it all caught me off guard, and I think it was the best kind of thing that could have happened. I think I had a very good experience of Outer Wilds. And I talk about this all the time, like all of the pain points that people like. I know that the developers have tried to smooth over since its release, and also things that players bring out. I had a really good like go through somehow. I got very lucky on all of those things, and I would echo what Abhi said about this, is that it really is a masterclass in all those things, and somehow it can be like systems true, it can be like physics true,
Yeah.
and all of it is kind of working in tandem for its storytelling and for all the things that it tries to do. So it's kind of a monolithic game, I think, for a lot of indies.
I can imagine, yeah. As an indie developer, I can imagine being like, wow, this was made by another, like this is possible by an indie studio, right? And I'm curious, I wonder if you'd heard about it because of Game of the Year, because I think it won like a ton of Game of the Year, so maybe it was picking up some steam that way, and you're like, what is this thing?
Yeah, I don't remember my first contact with it.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome though. Like I have been lucky enough I've known about this game. It's been on my radar since it came out. And I'm kind of glad that I waited until now, because like I feel like the way I am with games now, I think I appreciated it a lot more than I would have back in like 2019. And I've luckily I didn't have a single thing spoiled about this, aside from the fact that it was a time loop game, which, that's kind of on the docket. If you see a trailer, I'm sure that's revealed. So I went into it completely blind and was very, very excited about it. I luckily did not I didn't have the motion sickness stuff, which that was my biggest concern. I'd heard that people have a lot of motion sickness issues. Which, speaking of, Jess, that was your biggest issue, right?
That was my like worst issue. I get motion sick really quick, like to the point where in the car I have to be by a window or else I will get nauseous. And that was like my biggest issue. I played on a PC and with a controller, but I just like had to do it in like 1 hour to like 2 hour bursts, because at like hour and a half I'd get so nauseous. But it'd be like hour, and then I would take like a 30-minute break, feel better, drink some water, eat a piece of bread, keep going.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you beat it?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn. That's really hard. That's really hard.
Yeah. That's what when she told me that, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I was gonna tough it out if I got but that was why I started playing so early, because I was like, if I'm motion sick, because like I beat the game like a month and a half ago, basically. I was like, if I get motion sickness, I'm gonna need to take my time on this. But luckily I didn't. And speaking of time, it took me about 14 hours, which I think is like the exact average time based on reports. Do you guys remember how long it took you guys to beat it the first time through?
I lost track of time.
Yeah.
I was definitely one of these games where I fell inside of this like vortex, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop doing everything else in my life, and I'm just gonna play this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt that.
Yeah. I don't think it was super long either. It didn't feel like I didn't ever feel like this is gonna end, or like when is this gonna end, or like I think usually when I think about time, it's because the game feels too long or the game feels too short.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, yeah, this game. So I think this would be a good time to give a warning. We had a lot of good discussions here, but we're going to be going into like full spoiler territory for everything. Because as we've kind of talked about off mic, is anything about this game that you talk about becomes a bit of a spoiler. So you don't want any hints. You gotta bounce right now. you go play the game. It's so worth it. And I will mention we did not play the DLC because I did not have enough time. I got extremely busy with life. So Remy and Abhi will be back later and probably sometime next year to do the it's the Echoes of the Eye, right? Is the DLC.
Yes.
I'm very excited. I'm also a little scared because I've heard it's like nightmarish. But I'm excited to dive into that in the future. But starting off, I mean, this is probably the coolest tutorial of all time. Like, they force you to walk through your little home base, basically your home camp of Timber Hearth, to go get launch codes because you can't even launch without them. And like just kind of walking you through each station and kind of teaches you all of the basics of the game within that one like path to the museum. I thought was like exceptional. Like they teach you how to fly, they teach you like the jumping mechanic, they teach you how to like just like look around and all that different kind of stuff, and then hitting that museum with all the different like artifacts and things like that inside there, and like there's a small little anglerfish, there's a teleporting rock, there's all these space charts and everything like that, and I was like, oh man, this is crazy. Like, do you guys remember how you felt the first time? Because I'm sure like that experience alone is something you can kind of only feel that first time.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody can jump in whenever. Magic of editing.
I like was amazed. I played it while I was at my boyfriend's house over the summer. And I was just playing it one day and he was like watching. Like I had started it, he was sitting next to me watching, and I was like, "Well, this is so pretty." I sat at that campfire for like 10 minutes just roasting and eating marshmallows.
Yeah.
I really liked it though. It was when I realized, I was like, "Oh, I'm going to get motion sickness throughout this game." But it's too pretty. I can't not play this. I can't be like, "Hey, Eric, sorry."
Yeah.
So I try to tough it out as much as I could. I accidentally skipped the model aircraft.
Oh, the little RC thing.
Yeah,
That's good.
it's not good.
Yeah.
I had such a hard time flying the first time.
Well, the thing is, like, I am of the opinion that the RC ship shouldn't be there.
It does. It
Because-
is a different vibe for sure.
Well, I think I've known a lot of people bounce off the game because like, oh man, I can't fly that RC ship. So I'm not going to be good at this game. When there's nothing you have to do in the game that is
Close
like
to that.
close to flying that RC ship.
Yeah.
Because like
Right.
flying that thing in third person, it's not. Yeah. So I think
Not
it's
the
good
same.
that you. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. And I think when I think about the first few minutes of Outer Wilds, like the first ever time you play it,
Mhm.
I think it's interesting because I think the most standout moment for me is the first time you open your eyes. And then after that, I think that's until you get back on your ship, that stretch of time is the most traditional Outer Wilds is as a video game, right? Like,
Right.
and to me, I can kind of see this as like, the way they teach, the way they show things, the way they teach things, it's a lot more straightforward, a lot more streamlined in that tutorial than it ever is in the rest of the game, right? And
Right.
it's kind of left to let you figure these things out. And I can imagine, because they've been working on that game for like 7-8 years, right? So like I can imagine that like that intro section must have gotten bigger and bigger in order to address playtest feedback and all sorts of things. But I do think that for me the magic really started like the first time I went into space.
Yeah.
And because from that point onwards, honestly, the tutorial really ended. And it feels like they designed the game they wanted to design starting from that point. Because a lot of the things that like all the philosophies that I think I'm learning from Outer Wilds starts to apply from there. But I also understand the necessary evils of like having to teach a lot of mechanics in a short amount of time, but I will say like even then, even that, like meeting the villagers was a very important establishing thing, because when you realize why the time loop is happening or what's happening, for me at least, there was a bit of like, okay, there's all these guys, back home, and they don't know that this is happening, and like that does set the stage for the tragedy, right?
Right.
Which I think was important. And I think like the first time, I think they teach you about the quantum, the shift teleporting thing,
Mhm.
there also. That I think was like a really cool thing to see. Like, and even then, like I think their approach to kind of like museuming the whole thing and like using the museum to teach these things and everything, really fits well with like the Hartians' personalities and how fond they are of science.
Mhm.
And all of that, yeah.
Yeah, this game, one of my first notes that I wrote down was like, it makes me feel like a scientist. Like you feel like a
Yeah.
scientist in this game. And the question of like in the museum, it's like, did the universe have a beginning? And I was like, oh,
Mm.
my astronomer obsession that I had when I was in college. I took 2 different astronomy classes just because I wanted to, and I was like, oh man, this is scratching an itch I haven't had like scratched in a while. And yeah, just like you just walk in this town, and like you said, it's the most basic like traditional video game. You're just talking to people, doing things, they're teaching you how to play. And then once you're done and you get the launch codes, you're not taught anything else by the game again, except like things that you have to read about and learn about the world. It's not the game telling you like, oh yeah, if you press these 2 buttons together. It's not like Tunic, which is another very cool video game where like the game is telling you over time, like, oh yeah, these mechanics exist, but you didn't know about them. In this world, it's like, no, this all happens and everything. You just need to utilize it. Like the mechanics that you have as a player are all the same. Like you have your jump pack, your jumping, you have positioning in space, you have your ship and your little radio scope and a little drone. Like that's it. And you're not getting anything else. You're not unlocking abilities or anything else as the game goes on. And it's crazy to think about that. Like that's all you have, and they're not giving you nothing for the rest of the time.
Also, the only time in the tutorial, I guess the tutorial is the only time where there's a real gate in the
Yeah.
entire game.
There's a real
Exactly.
what?
Gate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you need the launch codes to even continue. Because they
Yeah.
won't let
Yeah.
you otherwise.
But the rest of the time, I don't think there is. As far as
Yeah.
I can remember, there's no gates.
No, I think like
No.
thinking about it, like it's not like I did anything to get that final ending. Like I didn't do anything extra. It was just like I did exactly what I'd been doing and just did this 1 or 2 things differently, and then it worked, kind of thing. That first death that you have after unlocking the time loop ability, which is you look into what is the ancient alien
No.
species
No.
called?
No, my.
No, my. Thank you. I was thinking. I think I talked to Jess about this in person. I kept mixing it up with Zonai from like Tears of the Kingdom, and I was like,
Yes.
"This is too confusing for me." So it's Nomai. When you get the Nomai statue and it like looks in your like you're about to go leave the museum,
Yeah.
and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, I got my launch codes. I'm gonna go into space, and we're gonna get this thing started." And then the statue turns, and I was like, "What the fuck is happening?" And then after you,
Oh,
yeah,
a really cool moment about that is that the first time the statue binds with you, you see what you don't know yet, which is like what you're gonna see each time you die, like the
Mm,
flashback thing. But what's cool is that when you see the nomad for the first time, it'll play back everything you've seen in forward time,
mm,
in chronological order. But after that, every time you die, the video it'll play back in reverse time,
yeah.
and that's the only time it ever plays it in forward time, which I
That's
thought was really
sick.
cool.
I did not catch that. Yeah, that
Mm.
that part, and then very soon after that, your first death, whether it be from your own means or the time loop ending, which the time loop is 22 minutes. Every 22 minutes, the sun in the little solar system goes supernova and blows up everything, and then you
And
wake up.
yeah, like I wonder what it's like for people who didn't, people who died before the sun exploded.
Hmm.
I was again very lucky. I think I was just on the moon.
Hmm.
I was walking
Yeah.
around on
I
the
died
moon.
different.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
you
I
what?
times before the time time loop
Y-
kicked in for me. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah.
Like
I think
okay,
I was on the moon as well. I died before I even I
Yeah.
died before I even got the time loop ability.
So somehow I didn't die before, and so I discovered, and I was also in the right place to
Mhm.
see things go, bad.
Yeah.
Again, another one of my like lucky fortuitous,
Yeah.
like somehow getting the best experience of that.
I mean, that's incredible because it's every 22 minutes, and then I think it's what is it, like 30 seconds, maybe a minute or so of music plays as it's leading up to that. I
Mhm.
just wanted to point that out because my buddy, one of the hosts of a podcast on our network, Phil, used to have that as his that music as his wake up alarm, and he's like,
Oh,
it used to
God.
stress me out, so it would get me
Yeah.
out of bed.
Well,
Yeah.
imagine just hearing that, like just going about your day, and you suddenly hear that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
fuck.
you're
And
like,
then it'll be over.
yeah.
It's over.
You're like, oh no, this is it. But yeah, I died before even getting to the museum because when I was flying the little RC thing, I like went down one of the tubes and I saw there was stuff down there. I was like, well, might as well go jump down there.
So when
And
you die during the tutorial, it says you are dead.
yeah, and then it
Yeah.
kicks me to the main menu.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very funny. So that's definitely one of the a little secret is if you die, you just get kicked. But yeah, so that first reset though is incredible, and like just being like the whole rewind of everything that you did and all that is such a cool effect. And then you just get to it, you get right back to it, and it becomes like you eventually become a machine at starting that, getting into the lift, into the ship, going to where you are, putting on your flight suit, triggering autopilot, all that stuff, like to the point that I was so in it at one point. I was like playing, I hopped into the ship, and then in real life, I went to turn to my right to like grab my flight suit, and I was like,
No.
we are very locked in right now because I was like, whoops, that's not real. There's no flight suit to my right, but I definitely did do that for a split second. But yeah, so we discussed off mic, kind of just going over the planets a bit, and then we'll kind of talk about lore that we can find throughout. And because there's really the only lore that I really want to talk about when all is said and done is like the whole reason that this is happening and why, which you kind of get bits and pieces of throughout. But when we're done at the end of the podcast, towards the end of the episode, that's when we'll kind of like wrap everything up in a nice bow as best we can, because there is still some stuff that's up for interpretation, I'm sure. But I think the first place really to go, we can talk about Timberhearth, but I technically did not go back to Timberhearth and like explore it for a bit. My first path was to the Addle Rock, and then I think I went to Giant Steep. But we can talk about Addle Rock, which is the moon of our home planet. Addle Rock, there's not very much going on there, if I remember correctly. It's just there's one station with a guy on there who kind of points you in the right direction. He kind of shows you like, oh yeah, there's other people out there. You use your scope to find them, and he kind of roughly points you in the direction of, I think he pointed me in the direction of Giant Steep. I don't know why else I would go there, but is there anything about Addle Rock you guys wanted to talk about?
I guess it's the first time is this true? Where like you're in space and then you can take your helmet off or something.
Yes,
or
with the
like
trees.
Yeah, with the oxygen.
Yes.
And it kind of conditions you into thinking those spaces are where, there's life.
Yeah.
I think that's
I did
something
love
Lachlan
that.
mentioned.
Yeah, I love the oxygen mechanic of being like, if you see trees, your suit is high tech enough to just pull oxygen from the trees to be like, you're good. So if you find trees anywhere, you get a replenish of your oxygen.
Yeah, it was, and then of course they play on that expectation.
Mhm.
It's kind of freaky. So like, one of the things I'll say about Outer Wilds is that like I was kind of freaked out all the time.
Me too.
And I think I was freaked. I mean, the quantum rocks freak me out for real.
Dude, the quantum rocks, yes.
And kind of like there's cosmic horror in the sense that there's like large celestial bodies moving through space, and like a planet could like crash into you, stuff like this. But like I mean, that was the first time, at least I remember being introduced to oh, you don't. You can breathe here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. There's a like my programmer is not able to play this game because of the perceived cosmic horror or the tension you have as you explore these things, right? And it's like even if you tell somebody that hey, there's no horror elements, right? There is and isn't, but like if you tell them that there's no horror elements, just like the idea of like because one, it's not a power fantasy, right? Like you are at the mercy of the elements, and a lot of times like I've been in situations where like I was overpowered by whatever planet I was in, right?
Yeah.
And so there's that, but also just there's a general sense of unease of like you don't know what you're gonna find next, right? And I
Yeah.
think to do that they've really nailed a sense of exploration, right? They've really nailed that. And like I think the other game that comes to mind when I think about a sense of exploration is something like Breath of the Wild. But there you're Link, and you're quite powerful.
Yeah.
And also the way they do exploration is more focused on wonderment, like oh you've found something beautiful or amazing, or like a secret or a treasure. But like here it's like you're
Yeah,
almost
that's
scared of
boring. This is you're scared.
Yeah.
I just called Breath of the Wild boring. I'm kidding.
Clip it.
Oh God, no.
Creative director of 1,000 Time Resist says
No,
Nintendo
we
makes
can't.
boring games.
No. Gonna get hate mail. No, but I think you're right. It's like, yeah, instead of wonderment, it's like you're like, oh my God, do I really want to know?
No,
Yeah.
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 It's because you're a scientist, like I mentioned earlier. Like you're a scientist in a world that needs to be studied, right? It's not a
Yeah.
situation where it's like, oh yeah, I'm a scientist that's building off of all this knowledge that I have. It's like, no. There are so many things we don't know. We just developed a tool that translates ancient tech, like ancient writings, right? It's the first time that we've ever been able to do that. And you're going to go out into space all over the place and translate that text. So like it needs to be done. It's not oh yeah, this is fun. I'm just digging up like like an archaeologist where it's like, oh yeah, this is really cool. I get to like find out about history and stuff. It's like, no. You're going into different planets where like one of them is a moon made of volcanoes that's just shooting debris constantly onto a planet made of like paper thin like Earth. And then on the inside of that planet is a black hole. Like, yeah, no. It's fine. Like none of this is safe, but you have to do it.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it does make what's funny is the cosmic horror of everything is what like intrigues me the most. Like I'm not afraid of that. What is freaky is what we'll talk about later when we got to Dark Bramble. I love that place, but oh my God, was I not prepared for that at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
But Adel Rock is nice and calm with a little cabin and some trees and a little thing that's kind of introduces the eye, right? It's got all the track. Like now knowing that little structure on Adel Rock is a tracker for all the different planets. But at that point, you're like, I have no idea what this is. I don't know what any of this is.
Yeah.
But it's just a little thing that's basically you stand in the middle and it's got every planet has a little slab basically that's like rotating. And it's basically just tracking it. And then there's one that's going like crazy. And that's the one that's tracking the eye, which is the main goal of the game is to find the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but-
I called that the planet dial, like a sundial.
Perfect.
And I was like, oh, it's a planet dial. I'm finding all the planet. And I was like, my boyfriend was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, look it, you see, it's pointing at the planet. Depending on like which planet you're trying to look at. And he's like, how'd you figure, because I was just standing there for like 3 minutes just like looking at it and putting the patterns and the context together.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it doesn't tell you that. So that's like, yeah, that's just you teaching yourself.
Yeah,
like,
you're the target player for sure.
Yeah.
It took me a lot longer to figure it out.
I was gonna say
That's
this
wild.
is
I'm
just Jess's
looking-
MO though. Like she just does this. We just recently played Expelled, and she got like a god run in that game and beat it in like 4 hours. And it took me
Nice.
like 13 hours. Like
Oh, I do want to play Expelled actually. Yeah.
You should. It's
yeah.
a really good game.
It
You could
was
also
fun.
listen to it.
Yeah, you could listen to it's spoiler heavy though. It is a fun game though.
I'm looking it up right now. I don't know.
It's the sequel / prequel to Overboard. Yeah.
Yeah. Overboard I did play, yeah.
But
It's an Intel game, right? If I remember.
Yeah, yeah,
Inkle?
yeah.
Yeah, it is an Inkle game. Yeah, that one was I definitely I think if I would have beat it quicker, I would have liked it more. But
It gives me it somehow gives me like the same player promise as like Bully, like Rockstar's Bully,
mm,
even though the gameplay is extremely different, I'm sure.
Mm.
I was gonna say, yeah. That's very dude, Bully, holy crap. Talk about a game that needs to have a remaster, remake. That game rips. Oh, that game was so fun. But okay, before I'm gonna with you two, it's very dangerous. I can get off topic like very easily. Like the episode might already be out, but we basically recorded a little mini episode talking about Godzilla before this, which was very dangerous. That could have just been the whole podcast. Okay, yeah, Adel Rock's very simple. It has the planet dial, which I didn't figure that out that's what that was until basically reading a thing much later where it was like, oh yeah, the planet tracker on the moon. And I was like, holy shit, that's what that is. And that's what this game does all the time, right? You see these things that are very well designed to the point of being like, okay, it's locked in my mind, or you're like me and I'm taking notes, and you're like, okay, this is a thing that's worth noting. And then later you read a passage or a little text or anything like that from the I almost said the Zonai again. The Nomai, and then it's like, oh my god, that's what that thing is. And like we'll talk about this because I think we'll talk about like favorite planets when we get there. Like when we start talking about your favorite planet, like feel free to like say this was my favorite because I have one that like I spent I think the majority of my time on, and it was like I was obsessed. I like didn't leave it until I had like everything figured out as much as possible. But after Adel Rock, I went to Giant's Deep, which is the planet that you see at the beginning of every
Yeah.
loop.
Yeah.
At the beginning of every loop, there's an orbital cannon that explodes and launches a piece of debris out, and you find out over time what that is. But Giant's Deep is mostly like it almost is a gas giant, but it's not. It's like weird. I don't know. It like it gives the vibes of Jupiter, but then you go in there and it's just like a giant body of water with tornadoes and twisters and everything like that. And man, like you come back to this one a lot, and it's very cool every time you come back. But this was the one planet for me that like something unlocked for me, which was the finding the statue room. You find the room with the statues and you can see in it, but you can't get in it because the door to get in is broken. And then realizing that all of the islands are not connected to the ground, so they get lifted up by the tornadoes. And so I jumped off off of the thing, and the second the tornado lifted it up, I went underneath the hole and got into the statue room, and I was like, okay, this game's something else. Like being able to do that is just like it was so cool. But I would love to hear your first thoughts on Giant's Deep because it's a crazy place.
Yeah, and I think that's the arc of Outer Wilds, right? Like the player arc is that each time you go to a planet, in the beginning you get tossed around, you die, you have no idea what's happening. You're at the planet's mercy. But at the end of it, you get to start using the planet's quirks to manipulate it and like do what you want. Like you start to master it, right? Like
Right.
Yeah.
and I think that's the fundamental arc they have at like every single like you talked about like Giant Steve. The first time I was very cautious, with like how I landed and everything, right? But by the end, I was just like crash landing and like I know where I want to go. I know how to do it. Like the absolute disrespect you show, like as a player to the
Yes.
To the ship.
the elements. It's very cool, and it's like, and I think what Outer Wilds, like one of its biggest achievements is like at any given time, the script you act out as the player really matches the personality of who that would be put in that position, right? So if you are stuck in a time loop, you will throw caution to the winds. You will throw those things. But like, yeah, I think Giant's Deep is also one of the first planets I landed on. And I will also point out like it's really cool that the first ever thing you see with orbital cannon is kind of the key to like bringing all of the mysteries to a close. And it just they say it was before your eyes the whole time, and they literally kind of achieved that, right? And I think apart from that, the highlight for me about this planet is the Hartian you meet. I forget his name. He's on a hammock, I believe.
Yes.
And
Very important.
yeah, I think he's the Harshian who is also time looping.
Yes.
Yes. And it's cool because like he's taken a very different approach to you. But what I absolutely loved
Doctor.
about it is that when the tornado happens and like things are flying and the hammock is also like lifting and everything, but the man is still like resting. Is completely unbothered. And I just remember thinking, man, what a role model. So
Yeah.
that really struck out to me.
Yeah, he literally teaches you probably the most important mechanic in the game, which is the meditation, which allows
Right.
you to
Yeah.
pass like to the next day, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Giant Steep definitely teaches you a lot. And like you were saying, I think it's very funny. Yeah. At first you're like, okay, let me make sure I land in the landing pad and make sure I still have access to my ship and everything like that. And then eventually by the time you're just like, I'm just going for this as an exploration thing to confirm something for a later run. So we're just crashing into the water. I'm getting out and swimming as quickly as I can over to here. I do not care. I'm going to die anyways. It's fine. Like you're like, it's all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
There was one time where I was like completely super far away from the ship and I knew I was hitting like minute 20. So I was like, I'm just going to jump in a tornado, see where it takes me because I'm going to die right now anyway.
Right. It'll take you into space.
Throws you
I got
space.
launched.
Yeah. And that Giant Steep gives you some crazy lore about the Nomai too, about the fact that they were like the way they built the orbital cannon, which is by using the tornadoes, the twisters, to lift pieces into the sky, which was so sick. Like it's literally like oh yeah, we don't have jet propulsion here because there's only literally four bodies, like four land masses, and five of them, five maybe, and four of them are not attached to anything. They're just floating around, so they can't really build anything that can hold the structure to launch things into space. So they're just like, yeah, let's just throw chunks of the orbital cannon into the twisters, and they'll get launched into the stratosphere. Like that's great, perfect. And then I think it was that's when they start to lay the seeds too. At least this was for me. This was where I was like, okay, they're going to start laying seeds for future exploration, which was you read a thing that says, oh, one of the pieces of the orbital cannon got sucked underneath the current, but we don't know how that happened. And then they get this correspondence back that says, oh, yeah, we have a model of the twisters on this planet. If you go there, you can explore it and figure out how that happened. They don't tell you how, but once you get there, I was like, that was a cool discovery. That discovery made like that was way late in the game for me too. But anything else about Giant Steep before I do want to talk about that bit a little bit.
No, I mean the first thing I just remember driving right into it. I was like, all right, let's see what goes on.
What's really
And then
funny?
I immediately drove into it, and then it spit me right back out.
Yeah, it's
like,
really
what?
cool. Yeah,
What?
you would think it would like rip you up, but it just kind of just throws you. As long as there's
Yeah.
not a landmass in the
Well,
twister, it just
I
gets
don't know if
thrown.
people remember this movie called Mission to Mars. Was it Mission to Mars? No, it's not Mission to Mars. It was there was like two of these movies where people went to Mars, released quite close to each other. Let me see. It's maybe called yes, it is Mission to Mars, where like there's this scene, graphic content warning, that a astronaut gets spun around in a tornado, and then it's so fast that his arms and legs just spin right off.
Jeez.
And I remember watching that as I don't know, what year did this movie come out? 2000, 10-year-old, and that freaked me out. And so this I think about that scene every time I go to this planet. So
that is, now I feel like I need to watch that. That sounds crazy. That sounds literally
24% on Rotten Tomatoes, but this is like pre-Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, that's wild. Oh my god. Yeah, it is funny. I can't remember what movie it is, but I remember a movie I watched growing up around that age. We're similar in age by like about 3 years. And I saw a movie where like somebody's arm got ripped off because they're holding somebody up, and I can't remember what that movie is, but it's like that scene is ingrained in my head.
Yeah.
And that stuff like that is just like just lives with you forever.
So Mission to Mars is apparently like a Brian De Palma movie. I totally didn't realize. Anyways,
yeah, with Gary Sinise and Tim Robbins and Don Cheadle. Like
yeah.
there's some good actors in there. But yeah, the bit I was kind of alluding to with Giants Deep is when you do, I forget where it's at, where you find out how the cyclones work, but there's one that's spinning the opposite direction, and you have to pay attention to it, and that's how it breaks you through the current so that you can get to the core of the planet. And then you're met with another mystery, which is how do I get like what do I do down here? Because all that's down there is a bunch of electrified jellyfish in a core of the planet that's literally just an electrode, and you're like, what do I do down here? And eventually you figure out that like through a ton, like much later in the game, because I think you don't figure this out until the Dark Bramble, is that you hide in a jellyfish body, and the jellyfish goes through the electro core, and then underneath there is the bits and pieces of the orbital cannon that are missing, and you're like, what the heck? And I think one thing that will probably be brought up a lot is what are they called, vision bays, vision whatever, the things where you can see the portals. Basically they're not teleportation portals, but you basically put a slab in it where
where you want to teleport to.
And then you can see where it is. And if you go into the orbital cannon in space, you can see this whole time. If you use the vision portal to like look into that piece of the missing piece in the core of Giants Deep, it's like it was here the whole time. Like you can tell. Like if you look carefully now, it's like, oh yeah, there's literally electricity and everything around this thing, and you're underwater, and it's like it's been telling you the whole time that that's where it is, and then you eventually see it, and you're like, it's so obvious now in retrospect. And that's like this game in a nutshell, right? It's like, oh, that was so obvious. How did I not realize that?
Yeah.
Okay, and then so nothing else on Giants Deep. We want to move on to my favorite planets, which are the Hourglass Twins. Those are by far the coolest and by far the most time that I spent, because I forget the individual names of the planets.
Ember Twin, Ash Twin.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Ember Twin. I spent so much time on that planet. It's like the smallest planet, and I spent the most time doing time loops and getting back there. I wish it kept track of how many times you like set foot on a planet, because I bet it would be the most. Because that just, it's the Ember planet. Ember Twin is the rock one that's hollow. Basically, it basically looks like an ant farm. It like no other way to describe it. It looks like an ant farm. And then the other one is the Ash planet, which is covered in sand, and they just rotate each other as they're also rotating the sun, or orbiting the sun. And basically, over time, the Ash Twin will dump, because of gravity, will pour its sand into the Ember Twin, which will eventually fill up those cracks, which basically means you're on a timer. You're on two timers, right? You have the 22-minute timer, and you also have the Ash Twin, Ember Twin timer of like, if you don't get to this spot quick enough, it's going to be covered in sand and closed off. So, and would either of you like to talk about the Hourglass Twins and like all the craziness that goes on there?
I think there's a city, isn't there?
Yeah.
So like, one of the great things about this is that as you explore, you realize that the Nomai got split up, and that they were out of contact with each other for a while, and that they were looking to make contact with each other. And I guess they had their various settlements, and one of them is on Ember Twin. Is that
Yes.
Right? Yeah. The rock one.
Yep.
Also very scared of those caves. Going to those caves. Freaked me out.
I got
crushed by got crushed by the sand.
Jesus, the deaths in this game are dark for sure.
Yeah, that can be. side note on the deaths, I think this is the case. I didn't look into it, but because I died in so many different ways and so like rapid succession, based on your deaths, the breath you take when you come back is different,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
is
really?
very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
take a panic breath when you come back and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happens if you get crushed by the sand? You're like,
Maybe.
It's not. I think it's not per death. Maybe there's just like, did you die violently and then do you have a
oh, I
reaction?
see.
Because
Yeah.
I know, you have the death, right, of
Yeah.
doing the meditation, which
Right.
is calm. Then you also have the two different ones of drowning and running out of oxygen, where it's like you gasp when you come back. And then I think there is another one where it's like a panting one. I think if you like crash really hard, but I did notice the different deaths because at certain points I was dying quite a bit.
Yeah.
So they're happening in rapid succession. I got the achievement for dying in less than a minute one time because I wasn't paying attention to my autopilot.
Yeah.
I
some-
got that achievement because I was like, I wonder what happens if I stand on the fire.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even leave the like entry point. I was just like, I surely won't get like fire damage. And then I was like, it's not gonna kill me with this fire damage. And then I died. I was like, it
I
did
think
kill me with
that's
the fire.
speedrunning strat or something. I've seen speedrunners do that when they want to reset, but they don't want to learn meditation because it like cuts down.
Oh,
Yeah. So
makes
yeah,
sense.
you might be.
That's so
Call me a
funny.
speedrunner now.
Yeah. You basically are, like, without realizing it. You do it all the time.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah. Okay. So you got crushed by the sand a lot,
Yes.
I would assume. And then the city down there is crazy. Like you have to sprint to get to certain areas. And this was the first time that I did get scared by the quantum rocks, because this is the first time where, because the one in the museum it just goes between those like 4 points in the museum, so you can kind of keep an eye on it. But this
getting
one
hunted by this rock.
You can curse, it's okay.
This fucking rock. It's just hunting you.
Yeah. But then later on, it becomes one of the coolest things in the game. Like, Jess, did you get to that bit?
I think that was, I think so.
Okay.
Because I remember yes, I did, because I was playing it. I was playing and I turned off all of my boyfriend's lights because it was like his light was right here and it did a really bad glare on his PC.
Okay.
So I turned on and I turned on the LED that he has on his desk. And because he still had to go to work while I was there, unfortunately. So I was just at his house alone. And so dark room, I had like red LED on. I'm like huddled up on his gaming chair and I have both his headphones on. He has a really good gaming headset. So like it's really good surround sound. I was like constantly looking over my shoulder to see where this fucking rock was. And then I'm like in the middle of like wandering and then he just goes, "Rah!"
Oh god.
I jumped so bad.
That's brutal. You're like already uneasy because of this rock that's just like following you. And then you get jump scared by your boyfriend.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
I think that's where you also learn about, like, I think encountered Nomai kids for the first time.
With the skeleton,
The skeletons and also the scans, and then you hear about how I think you hear about something about the Dark Bramble at the time, and I think you see what you encounter in Dark Bramble also, like the skeleton of that here. I remember being really worried that the kids are gonna get got by that. Like I'm gonna find out that they got by that, but then it was also really heartbreaking to see their tiny skeletons.
The skeletons like littered throughout this game, and then but it does make for what you find on the quantum moon like that much crazier, which we'll talk about. But the bit with the quantum rocks being able to turn off, like when you figure out how to utilize them, which is like standing on them and then turning off all of your lights. And because you find out you read the thing from one of the quantum like temples, basically, like that there's like Nomai that worship this stuff, and they say that like having pitch blackness counts as not looking at it. and then you just turn your flashlight on and off, and you're in different places.
Yeah.
And then you start looking at your radar, and you see that you're blinking around the planet, and you're like, "What the fuck is happening? This is so sick!" Like that stuff is unreal when you like figure it out.
I think that's where I think what's really cool, and I think Outer Wilds does this with like every single mechanic it introduces actually, where like there's the thing it tells you to use it for, but then there's also another thing you can do with it, right? Which is like you have to like you whether it's the signal scope or whether it's the thing you shoot. What is that called?
It's a drone, right?
Drone, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a drone or like they all have like multiple purposes, and the thing is like they're introduced to you at the beginning of, or even your flashlight, right? And they're introduced to you at the beginning of the game, so you kind of take them for granted, right? You're like you kind of forget that you have that, and then you have to realize, wait, I've had this tool at my disposal all this time. I have to just remember to do this also, which I think is really cool. Yeah.
No, literally, like I was not using that drone for the longest time, and then all of a sudden, I'm firing that thing every 5 seconds. It felt like, oh, I'm like, oh my god, this is the most important thing in the world. Like, how have I not been utilizing this? And yeah, and then there's the other thing of there's so much extra stuff in your ship too. Like when you put on your spacesuit, it like reveals in your like behind it, it reveals like some charts and some like guidance things, and being like, oh yeah, your drone also doubles as a light if you need it to light up things, like all this stuff that you're like, oh my god, if I didn't like and it's not like an interact, it's just there, right? It's just environmental. And I think it's so cool. And also, we didn't even talk about the map, which I didn't even use for the longest time.
I didn't use it until like I was trying to find, like I was like, it said some, I was like really frustrated, and I was like, it said something about like something getting updated, but what? And then I like went into the ship, and it like pulled all the info all together. I was like,
I felt so dumb. Yeah. I was like, I'd been taking like copious notes. So I was like, oh, I'm fine. And then I was like, this is so much better like than anything I could have come up with, because they have it all nice and organized. But I'm curious, that does lead me to both of you guys played it like the year it came out. And Remy, you mentioned that they had changed some things for like accessibilities and quality of life and stuff.
You muted, Remy.
Oh, sorry. I can't confirm whether it's changed or not, or I have changed. I have definitely changed. But
I know for sure they went through like
they went through iterations, for that particular Ash Twin, to do the Ash Twin project. So I know that it's been a pain point for players and for them to try and signpost that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so there's a feeling that like they signposted it, but then it changed the way and some of how it worked. And I think before you could accidentally do it, and I accidentally did it. Like I was just like looking around, and then all of a sudden I looked up because
my god,
because I could see the thing coming, and I wanted to see what it would look like if it came over my face. And that's how I got transported to the Ash Twin project.
That's
for the first time, and I was like, "Whoa, what the fuck? This is crazy!"
Yeah,
and all this stuff was going on. It was like a huge moment, and then the sun exploded.
Yeah. And then you're like, how did I get here?
How did I get here? So it was like, again, it was like the perfect Ash Twin discovery.
That's nuts. Because I think
if you didn't know where to go and that didn't happen, I think they've been trying to smooth that over.
Yeah.
And so I think now you can't accidentally do it.
You can't accidentally do it.
Well, I think you have to have some intention about it. Is it? You have to like go to the side and then hide from this sand.
Oh,
strand
yes.
thing.
Yeah.
I could be totally misremembering it too. So this is like completely.
Yeah. No, that's definitely how I had to do it as well. I remember, the first time I even utilized the black hole, white hole, like teleportation pads, not the black hole itself, because that's obvious. You just jump into it and it teleports you halfway across the galaxy. The little teleporting pads, I think I accidentally did one as well, but it was like inconsequential one. Why it was just like it took me to like I don't know, maybe like the Brittle Hollow or something like that, and I was like, huh, what happened? Like because it is you have to be looking directly up at it when it is overhead, and you'll directly teleport to it, and that I think the first time I did it was by accident, and you accidentally doing it to the final location to like solve the game basically is crazy. Like that is a nuts scenario. But yeah, there's so much to talk about for the Hourglass Twins, and it's like you could do a whole episode about that one because there's so much there. Like you mentioned the city, then you have the 4 different zones of that city. You have the Ash Twin itself. You have the stuff you learn there. Like I was there for so long. And that's I think when I got into that my like I'm in the game and reached for my spacesuit because my like mode like of doing things was like get on the platform, get onto the ship, launch it into space, get it above because this is how I died was getting into going up there too fast and going into autopilot and it just smashed me back down into Earth really fast. And making sure that I was above that and then hitting autopilot, going to there and then putting on my spacesuit while that was going on. And yeah, I was there for so long and it was the coolest thing. And as I was running out of things to like discover that were like the obvious things to do, where I was like, oh yeah, I have this little checklist of like, these are things that I was told I should explore. And as I was getting closer and closer to running out, I was like getting so bummed because I was like, no, I really like this place. And the next place was Brittle Hollow, which I fucking hated because falling into the black hole so many times was the most frustrating thing ever because I was like, I'm wasting time. It's gonna reset. Like, but do you guys have anything else you want to talk about for the? We'll come back to the Ash Twin project, right? Because that's the big thing. But for the twins planets themselves, is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
No, just what a cool concept, for.
I know.
Yeah.
Makes you think like, is there a celestial body out there that does that, right? And
Yeah.
just dumps sand. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder if it's like they did the research and it's like, yeah, it's physically possible. We have no idea if that exists, but it's possible for that to happen, kind of thing.
Yeah. This solar system has a lot going on for sure.
Yeah, there definitely is an active part of the cosmos.
Which, speaking of, the Brittle Hollow with the black hole as the center of the planet is crazy.
Well, I wonder, was it there when they? I can't remember this. Like, was it there when they arrived, or was it?
It was because they mention it in their correspondence that they're writing. That they're like, "Hey, be careful because 1, the ground is really brittle, and 2, there's a black hole below us. So be careful." So, Brittle Hollow definitely frustrated me the most because of falling into the black hole, having to go through the white hole to go back and like all this. And you're like, oh, I'm wasting so much time. And like just feeling, and then eventually I was less frustrated because there is a shortcut you can find that gets you to the city like in such a quick time. But what did you guys think of Brittle Hollow as a whole? Were you as frustrated as I was with it at any point?
I actually was not. I mean, it was definitely the place where I died the most, but I think it was the one where I was most curious. And so I like went to a lot of different places and I kept going there and dying and going there and dying.
It has some of the biggest lore drops, right? Like
for sure. So. There's like the city, there's like the quantum tower,
Black Hole Forge.
The Black Hole Forge.
Yeah.
There's like all of this crazy stuff there.
Yeah.
And you really learn a lot about the Nomai there. And I think, did they crash the ship there as well?
Yes.
On the surface?
They crashed the ship. They had they had the escape pods in the Brittle Hollow. Then the Ember Twin, and then one that didn't escape, which was in the Bramble Hollow or Dark Bramble.
What I really loved about, I mean, that's just the Nomai ship design, is how starkly different it is, even from say some of the architecture that they build. And like, I mean, we can talk about it when we get there, but just like the feeling of like going into one of those Nomai ships, you're like, oh, this is very different.
Well, yeah. going back to just briefly going back to the Ember Twin is when I first got one of the like pods, because you can go to one of their launchers and you can call back one of the ships, and you're like, what? Wait, what?
Right.
And going in there and then finding out like where it was from, where they were, getting some more information, and being like, oh yeah, it's from the Interloper, and you're like, what the fuck is the Interloper? Which is the comet that's been circling the game the entire time, and you're like, what the hell? Like that, like every time a crazy discovery, it like floors you, and then it's like, here's 17 more things that are interesting because you found this, and you're like, oh my god. And then it all pieces together somehow. It's crazy. Like it is a masterpiece of like putting things together and all of it making sense. But yeah, the lore drops we'll probably touch on a lot when we wrap up. But aside from that, Brittle Hollow, there's the, speaking of Brittle Hollow, there's the moon of Brittle Hollow, which has one piece of like lore on the moon, and it's a volcano, so you have to land inside of a volcano to like get to one of the writings, and I'm like, what were they doing in here? Why were they here? But yeah, that was a really frustrating but rewarding thing of like getting inside the Hollow's lantern, which was very cool.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to touch on Brittle Hollow exactly. But like you guys said, there's a lot of lore that's dropped there.
Yeah. I think it just had like the really cool, like you're trying to avoid the black hole, like really hard, and inevitably you fall. And the player moment that it creates organically when you fall into the black hole and you don't expect what happens. It's really beautiful. Remy, you were talking about the framing of that.
Yeah, because like you drop down, and then when you get out, what happens is you get teleported to the white hole, I suppose, and then a lot of that debris, the way they warp you, you get to see the debris framed in silhouette by the sun.
Yeah.
And so it's another thing where it's like, this is like classic Outer Wilds, like I almost said Outer Worlds. Classic Outer Wilds like situation is like you think you're dead, and then all of a sudden something happens, and you're like, you're not.
Yeah.
and you're left quickly to figure out why. And then
you get
also
so much information from that too.
And you just get information as well.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things where like, like this is a very narrative heavy game, right? But without wrestling control from the player, without, making a cutscene or without doing anything, they're able to create really beautiful cinematic moments just through the gameplay alone. And I think that's its biggest flex, that it keeps doing throughout the entire
The end of this game, the last 30-40 minutes of this game is like chilling. Like it is a masterclass of just direction. Like everything about it was just like, I was covered in chills for like 40 minutes. Like it was nuts. And especially because it was getting towards the end of like a long day of playing, and I was like kind of getting tired, but then I was like, oh, there it is. Like there's my like through line to finish the game, and that rewarding experience of like, oh man, I did it. Like it was crazy, but we'll get to that. It does have the Brittle Hollow has one of like the craziest, like you were mentioning about the white hole and like the debris coming through. Like that's how you solve one of the puzzles to get to the I forget exactly, is it another quantum temple, or is it like, I think it's the quantum temple, but it's basically, it's just more information, right? It doesn't really like matter what it is, but it's like you get to the point and it's a gravity wall that normally you walk into and you can walk straight up it, and so it gets you to the next room because the Nomai work in this crazy gravity manipulation stuff that they have, but there's a big chunk of it missing. So like I was just staring at it for like 15 minutes, and I was like, how do I get up there? Like, how do I get up there? And then all of a sudden I like fell, and I was like, oh, this is falling. And then you're in space and you're like, oh, now I can just fly up there. like the problem's just solved. I can just go up into that room and like, you're good. And like, it's just funny to be like, you're in all these different angles. I'm firing my drone at it a bunch of times. And then you're like, oh, the integrity is depleting. Like, okay, and then you're falling, and then you go through the black hole with the debris, and then you're out on the other side, and you're like, oh, okay, just fly into the room, no problem, easy.
It's just looking at some prototype footage. Anyways, I don't want to sidetrack us.
No, tell me about it.
No, it's okay. it'll be. We should move on to the next planet because otherwise it's gonna be bad.
Yeah, you'll be stuck. Okay, well, we'll talk about my the scariest planet by far.
Yeah,
but I think might be one of the coolest once you kind of figure it out. It becomes one of the least interactable planets, which is very funny. At first you think, how the fuck am I going to do this? And then eventually it just becomes like autopilot. This is, of course, Dark Bramble that we're talking about, which in of itself is one of the cooler lore bits. Because we can kind of talk about Dark Bramble and Timberhearth here, because Timberhearth has a seed of Dark Bramble on it, which is kind of the main. There's a couple other things on Timberhearth that we'll probably touch on when we go over lore. But the one obvious thing there is a giant seed of Dark Bramble, and if you fire your drone into it, it like gets all wonky and it like becomes hard to track. And then all of a sudden you're like, there are live anglerfish in there. And you're like, where is that? And then fast forward, you get to Dark Bramble and they're everywhere. I think I sent you and just about everybody else I know a screenshot of Dark Bramble's like entrance when I got in there, like when I got close to the core of the planet, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, what am I supposed to do? Because the first time that I made it to the eggs, I did it without my ship because I crashed into Dark Bramble and my ship exploded. So not only was I going through there like on low oxygen, I was just myself and not my ship. So, but basically Dark Bramble, the lore of it is that it's this basically like parasite seed thing that planted itself inside of another planet, and eventually it grew so much that it like kind of exploded the planet. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, and then now it's just its own celestial body with like a portal to another dimension. In the center. With
what's wild about Dark Bramble is that I actually don't know how they did this, but I know that like most of Outer Wilds is one huge Unity scene.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like messed up.
Yeah.
I think when you travel into Dark Bramble, do they teleport you somewhere? Where do they bring you? Because Dark Bramble is obviously it's much like the TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside.
Right.
And I wonder where I think they just like teleport you to this like pocket somewhere.
Yeah.
So which is kind of a feat, because the transition into Dark Bramble is quite smooth.
Yeah, it's really subtle. There's only a slight adjustment when you cross over the threshold of that like teleporter. It kind of like just shakes for like a split second, because it's basically lining you up, which is the key. Because the way this game is designed is you're met with these terrifying space anglerfish. And the key to getting through the Dark Bramble is to just do nothing. You just come in at a good enough speed and you just coast until you reach the center, basically. And then there's obviously a lot more things to do in there. And that's where you figure out how to get through to the core of Giant's Deep. And you meet a guy that's been stranded on the inside for a long time that people thought was dead, basically. And yeah, this place was a nightmare, but once you figure it out, you're like, this is so cool. This is the coolest thing ever. Like once you feel safe and you're like, I'm chilling, like you're like, wow, this is exhilarating. But holy crap, up until then, it was just like I was sweating.
For some reason, the Dark Bramble is a planet that I'm not as afraid of. Like I think it's the quantum stuff. The quantum moon is the scariest place in this entire game.
That's my favorite.
It's my favorite, but it's also like
it's scary,
oh god.
Yeah,
scary.
if we're counting like outside of the like core planets, the quantum moon is definitely the coolest because it's there the whole time. And well, before we move on to the quantum moon, I feel like that'll be a good thing we can talk about in a second. Is there anything else in Dark Bramble we want to talk about?
I mean, that's the location of the Nomai's crashed ship, I think.
Yes. Yeah. That's where the vessel is.
To actually find that vessel and explore it is like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I think for me, like firing that scout into the seed, and then like I think it shows up twice on the UI.
Yes.
I believe. That was a very 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 cool moment. It goes back to that thing about like getting more mileage out of existing design they've done. It was really cool.
Yeah, because you're like, wait, what do you mean? There's duplicate signals, and like that's your way of tracking it. Like that's your only way through. And yeah, finding the basically the lore of, you know, the vessel crash landed. They had 3 escape pods. All 3 escape pods got launched out. 2 of them successfully left Dark Bramble, and then one of them crash landed like extremely close. But they don't know how close, and they don't know how close the vessel is because everything is running out of power. And so the signal is basically running out, so they can't track it. And they do like an excursion from the escape pod to track it as close as possible, and they find the seed that will take them to the vessel again, but it's too small for people to get through, and so it's just surrounded by a bunch of dead Nomai bodies, and you're like, holy shit, that's brutal. And then but they mention that it's too small for a person, so you're like, oh, my little buddy, let me launch him through. And that bit's so cool. And it's also cool because early on, one of the biggest questions that I had that I thought this is never going to get answered because it was unaddressed for so long was on Giant's Deep. There's a frozen jellyfish. And you're like, why is there a frozen jellyfish here? Like, what's going on with this? And then turns out it's because it's from Dark Bramble, because there's a portal that takes you, like there's a weird little thing going on with, I forget his name, ship, but he mentions that like, oh yeah, it's very funny because he's like, you ask him like, oh, how could I get to the core of Giant's Deep? He's like, oh, I could tell you, but that would take the fun out of it. So he just gives you like a hint, which I was like, that's very funny. But you basically figure out that that's where how to get to the core of Giant's Deep is to get into the jellyfish. And it's because there's a dead jellyfish in Dark Bramble that has a portal that like takes you to Giant's Deep, I think, or something like that. There's a weird connection between Dark Bramble and Giant's Deep. And then that basically that was a very cool moment of being like, oh my god. I died so many times trying to get into that jellyfish though. I was like, I was so bad at it for whatever reason. But yeah, we'll talk more about the vessel later, because that is the little lead up to the end of the game, basically. But do we want to go into the Quantum Moon, or do we want to talk about what was the other one? The Interloper. That's a smaller kind of like less, well, not less lore heavy, but less of a. It's very small. It's probably the smallest thing in the galaxy, I would say.
We can do the Interloper because it's pretty quick. It's sad. It's very sad.
Yeah. Do either of you want to talk about what's going on there? Because that one I came to a couple times.
Yeah, I guess it's, the way to get inside the Interloper is to allow it to get close to the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And then it like cracks open. And then you go ice skate down there.
Ice skating, yeah.
Yes.
It's dangerously fast sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is where I'm living.
Find out. Mm-hmm.
Sorry. This is where I'm living vicariously through you guys, because I did not make it this far.
Okay, I was wondering when we would get to the point, because I was like, dang, she's still following with the Dark Bramble, and I was like, okay, she got pretty far.
Yeah.
I know. Past Dark Bramble, I'm gone.
Okay. There might be some stuff we touch on that you'll probably have figured out, but okay. The Interloper, though, you were saying, Remy.
Well, then you find out, that they discovered the ghost stuff.
Yes.
What is it called? The
Ghost matter?
Ghost matter, and then before they could escape, they cracked. It I don't know, it like cracked open and then it like killed everybody.
Well, yeah,
Sweet.
and launched it throughout the entire galaxy, and that's why it's
Yeah.
everywhere.
So there's a kind of thought where you like play the game and then you're like, well, it's possible that the Nomai killed themselves
Hmm.
by some outrageous experiment.
Right.
But
Yeah.
in the end, it was just this thing,
Yeah.
which is a really nice aside.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's like I think Outer Wilds was just like a tremendously sad game, you know, like,
Mhm.
but also very hopeful. It manages to walk both of those lines very
Yeah.
and Echoes of the Eye gets even more into this, which is
Yeah.
why it's really good. But like um I think I think even then there's a lot of thought, right? Like I believe the Novae are always shown as like scientifically very curious and very advanced, but also extremely empathetic, and
Yeah.
extremely cautious, to the point where like I believe when they arrived at Timberheart,
Mhm.
which is ironically one of the least Nomai touched planets,
Hmm.
um, they didn't do that because they saw life form was
Yeah.
forming there.
Right.
And even though the ghost matter wiped out all life,
Yeah.
it didn't wipe the Harkeens out because we were tadpoles in the
Hmm.
water, and ghost
Mhm.
matter cannot penetrate water, right? If I
Yeah.
if I'm
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
they
that
survived.
I remember that
Yeah.
was one of the coolest little lore things because the Nomai talk about they're like, yeah, we need like these to mine timber hearth, right? We
Yeah.
need to take a bunch of metal and things like that from it. But we want to make sure we don't take too much because there is an evolving life form on here. And then you realize like, oh shit, everything on timber hearth is made of wood. There's like almost no metal because
Mm.
that's such a short supply. And like you look at your spaceship and it's like most of it's made of wood and it's like put together
Mhm.
with wood and it's like so cool. This is like little storytelling thing
Mhm.
that's like the Hearthians don't know this, right? They
Yeah.
don't know that the reason they're so good at making things with wood was because that's what was plentiful because
Mhm.
the Nomai mined so much metal. But then you look around and you're like, oh yeah, almost everything here is made out of wood. That's
Mhm.
why like and it was because of the Nomai so long ago.
Yeah.
And then yeah, that was such a cool little when I read that thing, I was like, oh shit, that's why it's made out of wood. I was always wondering, I was like, why is this spaceship made out of wood? Like that doesn't seem smart at all. But yeah, that I love the little tidbits of being like, oh shit, yeah, we were evolving. And then it makes you question like how long ago like did the Nomai die, right? Because you find their bodies and they're all skeletons. But then it kind of leads up to that question of like, why did the orbital cannon just launch then? Like, who launched
Mhm.
that thing? Which we'll get into. But that was a question that's like ringing this whole time. You're like, did the Nomai just die? Because it's set up to make it seem like all of this stuff just happened. Um,
Mhm.
but the reveal later is very cool. Um, okay, so yeah, that's the interloper. It's basically the main thing that you find out is that the interloper carried in the ghost matter into the galaxy that killed the Nomai, which is crazy. And then I feel like yeah, probably because the other things we have left are the sun station, the quantum moon, the vessel, and the eye. And I feel like the quantum moon is probably the next one because the sun station is another like, oh shit, this is why this is all happening. Whereas the
Mhm.
quantum moon gives you a bunch of information on how things work and how to get to the eye. But so yeah, we can talk about the quantum moon. Abhi, you said this was your favorite, so feel free to talk about this insane, like one of the coolest things in gaming, I think, was the quantum moon for sure.
Yeah. I think like even though you know about like the solution to landing on the moon is so simple, like
Hmm.
it's so simple, but like it's cool how long it takes you to arrive there.
Hmm.
I don't know how they achieved that. Like with my
Yeah.
current game, I'm trying to do like where like players figure out solutions, but like how do you make the solutions not like immediately obvious, like
Hmm.
stuff like that. The idea that somebody could have taken a picture of the quantum moon, forgotten to unequip the signals, the droid, um, and just landed on it like no problem, and
Yeah.
they were okay with that, right? But like I think it's cool because like you mostly take pictures with your when you're on your foot.
Yeah.
You you rarely take pictures on your ship.
Yep.
So when they introduce something earlier, yeah, sure, I'm sure it's useful, and that's how it kind of obfuscates itself, which is really cool. I think the first time I landed on it, just the feeling of like hitting the moon and it feeling solid was so satisfying.
Yeah.
Like how many times have I flown through it? Like, trying to understand what's
Right.
happening and all of that. And I think till date, I think one of the coolest things for me about the opening is that sometimes you can see the moon
Yep.
and you can see it vanish when you blink. And like
Yep.
once again, I do think like the opening 1 second of Outer Wilds is so dense in its game design and like narrative design. They've crammed a lot into it because like you blink a couple times, right? And like sometimes you see it on the last blink, and sometimes you see it on like you see it vanish in the first blink. Sometimes you don't see it at all. But all of that is really cool. But I think it's a big journey through the moon. It's part of the. I think it's the last step in the Nomai journey, if I remember correctly. Like it's kind of graduation. And that also has like emotional weight for you because whether you like it or not, you're doing that. You're graduating school. So in a way, like I also see it as like you are taking on the Nomai's torch.
Yeah.
And it's cool that like by making you go through this just to get that piece of information, you're also kind of accepting their mission, accepting their torch, and becoming one of them, which is of course rewarded at the end of the Quantum Moon, where you run into Solenum, I believe. And I think emotionally, just talking to her is one of the best moments.
Yeah.
Like finding finally after all this time, like you've seen dead bodies, you've seen dead suits, like people in suits, and then you finally meet a Nomai and you see how they write and like how they type onto their pad and then punch it into the wall, and that's how it writes and everything, and you're like, holy crap, this is crazy. And also just the figuring out of the quantum tower on the quantum moon and how it works, insane.
It's so scary.
Yeah.
Having the moon take the characteristics of other planets that it's orbiting.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
It was so sick. Yeah, the way I actually landed on the quantum moon the first time was like by accident, because I was like, how do I get in there? Like I flew through it a couple times, and then I was launching my drone into it, and I was like, how is this working? Like, how am I doing this? And when you launch it in and then you take a picture, it's all static, and I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And so I must have like taken a picture super like last minute before it went in, so it was technically a picture of the moon, and then I was able to land, and I was like, what the heck? How did I do? Like, I just landed, and I was never able to recreate it for the longest time. So I like did it the one time on accident, and I was like, I don't want to leave here, because I was like, I don't know how I did that. And then you read about how it's like, oh, you always end up like starting on the South Pole. And I was like, oh, okay, so you land on the South Pole. Nope, couldn't ever recreate it. And then eventually reading the thing later about the quantum stuff, where it's like a picture counts, so you can take a picture of something and that counts as observing it. And I was like, oh shit, I have to take a picture of the moon. And then then you get it figured out, and you're like, wow, this is insane. Like I can't believe this.
And it also really freaks me out. Like, I'm just looking at some video footage of it now. Like the Giant's Deep. When you're in front of Giant's Deep, you get just a watery surface on the moon. It's just like, ugh. And then, of course, going to when it's orbiting the eye of the universe.
Yes.
And I think this is your first exposure to the kind of textures.
Yes.
That they use, and it's pretty horrifying. I was pretty horrified.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. And I think it's interesting because, like, I mean, that's also, I mean, they do so many clever storytelling things here. Like, one, you find out that, there's this really beautiful sentiment about, like, one of the how do you pronounce it? The Nomai? Solomon?
Oh, the guy, like one of the guys
the
that's
Nomai,
writing about. Yeah.
That they are alive in one of the 6 locations.
Right.
because like the moon is in all places at the same time, and so there's a version of this Nomai who's like alive because they were not in the solar system when the ghost matter
Right.
went off. So
Yeah.
and also you really get a sense of the culture. Man, there's just so much they can fit in. Like the sense of the culture of the Nomai that they're like accepting of like, oh, it seems like everybody is dead.
Yeah.
And I'm alive, and they're just like, okay, that cool.
Yeah. They're like the most scientific scientists, right? They're just like, well, that happened. Like, what am I going to do about it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much I want to say here, contrasting this to Echoes of the Eye, but we'll read.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will.
Later.
We'll make a note of that for future because
But
I'm very excited.
Yeah, I will say you're having in my opinion, the optimal experience, which is to like beat the game first, fully think it's great, understand it, and then play Echoes of the Eye.
Right. It emulates the actual release of the game, right? Because like the game, the DLC didn't come out for like what 2 years after the original.
Yeah, like I can imagine. I don't know if this is because like I had this experience and I want everybody to have that experience, but like
it's just because it's the correct experience. That's all.
Remy's very spicy in today's podcast, but I think like I can imagine processing everything that happens in Echoes of the Eye without processing everything that happens in the base game. Because a lot of what Echoes of the Eye does beautifully is like recontextualize things without taking away its meaning. It adds a beautiful layer. It's like one of those things where you're like, how do you add something that was so perfect? But then it actually enriches the experience. And like going through Echoes, I found a way to make this about Echoes of the Eye anyway. But like going through Echoes while thinking about like the fact that you've already beat the game, so like adds a lot to that experience also.
That makes me excited to go back and play. I will. I'll try to. We had just me and Jess just hung out and finished a game for the show in person for the first time in like a year. And so maybe we'll do that for Echoes of the Eye.
Yes, I think for me, like very very sidebar, real quick. For me, I think Outer Wilds is like the perfect like watch someone else play it and just be active in the playthrough.
Yes,
I think that's completely reasonable.
Huh?
You don't get motion sick if you're not playing. If you're not,
If I'm not the one in control, I'm fine. But if I'm the one in control, I get so motion sick so quick.
Right. But it's also a game you can really help out, like just by watching all.
Yeah.
Or taking
like
notes.
Nice,
I thought
nice
about
to
that.
Have another person.
Yeah,
you know,
I literally almost
you're
dragged like because there was especially during the Ember Twin. Like there was so many things I was learning. I almost pulled my wife in to be like, just notate for me as I'm talking because there's like, and I was like, that would have sped up my playthrough so much if I had somebody else like taking notes for me as I was like playing.
Yeah.
And so that would be pretty cool actually.
And
plus
sidebar on the
game.
sidebar. Yeah. Sidebar on the sidebar.
Yeah.
The drone. It's a scout because there's a scout launcher.
Yes.
I was just thinking about it when Abhi was talking. I was like, because you said the droid, and I was like, scout, but I didn't want to just immediately
so
like.
I knew it was the right word.
Yeah.
I'm like, and scout is such a perfect word for it. Also, that's why it wasn't sitting right with me.
Same.
But
I was like, something's wrong about it, but it's not wrong enough because like it is a drone, right? Like it is, but I was like, that doesn't seem right at the same time.
I remembered because signal scope and then scout launcher, it all except for the launcher, everything was S, and I noted that, and I was like, oh, that's cool. It's all S's.
Gotcha.
It just took me this long into the podcast to realize what the word was.
Just an hour and a half in, no big deal.
No big deal.
Okay, so the quantum moon. Yeah, you figure out like you go onto the actual surface of the quantum moon and you're like within, quote unquote, like a stone's throw away of the eye of the universe, and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? Like
It is
Everything
one of
about
these like wildly like the scale of it is just nuts. And
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
what's really interesting about it is that it allows you to use your imagination, which is often the
Mm,
scariest thing.
yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I
This
think too many.
whole journey to the quantum moon and like what it affords storytelling wise and gameplay wise is I could talk for hours about.
Yeah.
The quantum
Yeah.
moon is so sick. Like
Yeah.
it is so cool.
I think too many, like even horror games, right? Like
Mm.
designed specifically trying to scare you,
Mhm.
do not leave space for your imagination, right? Like,
Mhm.
No.
and it's and this game was like, does that really beautifully. Like it does it when it needs to, and all of that. Like it's so interesting because like I was just thinking about the giant steep tornadoes also, right? Like
Mhm.
in a way it's kind of wholesome that you get to
Yeah.
go in a tornado and like take it for a ride in 1 second, like
Yeah.
but in other ways it's also like very scary, and it's there to like tear you apart.
Right.
Like, and all the way you feel about any given moment in Outer Wilds, is the exact same moment, exact same planet, but the way you feel about it changes just based on how long this is your first time encountering it, or like, this is your 100th time encountering it. Yeah.
It's like your first day at work versus like your thousandth day at
Yeah.
work, right? You're like you feel so much more comfortable, and like first time going to Giant Steep, you're like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
And then, after you've been there so many times, you're like, where the fuck is the clockwise one? So I can go down to the center of the planet, right? Like you're like, I don't even care about you guys. Like you're just a bunch of tornadoes. I'm looking for the one that's standing out so I can go to the center of the planet, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you're not even worried about them anymore because you're like, you're just a tool. Like that's it. You're just a
Yeah.
tool for me to figure this out. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
And I think like every time loop movie or series or media eventually arrives at a point where like there's a montage
Mm.
where it just shows the protagonist doing a wide variety of things. And it's just like cut into different things. And like sometimes they're rushing, sometimes they're quiet, sometimes they're wasting time, sometimes they're not, sometimes they're dying, sometimes they're living. And it's a testament that like you could take my playthroughs and make that same montage out of that. Like there are runs where I've just decided I'm just gonna chill this run, right? Like and like every time I would do that, I would just try to align all the musical instruments in one line just to make
Oh,
my own.
nice.
I would just try to go to that spot and do that. Because I could, and like in a way it was a kind of a respite from like dealing with the horrors of the
Right.
solar. Yeah, but it's really cool.
It is. I mean, yeah, this game is on top of it being like horrifying. It is also just an entire vibe of
Yeah.
itself, right? Like
Yeah.
you can just chill if you want to. You can just fly around space and chill for 22 minutes before the sun explodes. Like, you can do whatever you want. You can go to Giant Steep and just sit like on one of the islands and see what happens because there's so much going on, or you can just orbit the hourglass twins and watch as they, and you know what, a lot of the times that can just be a way of studying, right? You can be like, oh,
Mm,
at this point this is when the bridge on the ash twin is now visible and I can get on there, right?
mhm.
Because I remember timing myself towards the end. I was like, I had a timer and I was like, okay, how fast can I do this? Because like, when is the absolute moment that I need to be here? Kind of thing. And sometimes that just involves waiting and chilling and observing, which is so cool. But yeah, that's the quantum moon or the ghost moon or however you want to refer it to. We're getting close to talking about the eye because the eye is crazy. But I'm trying to think before we go into the vessel. I'm trying to think if there's anything else like we want to talk about. The sun station was what I wanted to talk about next. The sun station is just a lore dump, basically, because there's not much. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's not much you can do there, aside from read. But it does reveal the timeline, right? Of like why the orbital cannon is firing. I think am I correct there? That's when they reveal how why that's happening.
Yeah, well, sorry. I think like they were, there's some anticipation where you go to the sun station and you think that they did something really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But then it turns out they didn't.
Yeah. It's
You know.
it's basically like Jess, I'm assuming you didn't make it to the sun station, right? Okay.
Not at all.
Yeah, so getting to the sun station, you have to teleport there, because if you try to land there, I mean, you could probably land there if you're an expert pilot, but I'm not. Every time I tried to land there, I got sucked into the sun. But you get there and you basically find out that the sun station is there to elicit a supernova, so that they can, I forget what the means are that they're powering the Ash Twin project, which the Ash Twin project is the memory thing, the time loop.
Okay.
So basically, they have, is it 9? Am I correct, or is it like 7? They have, how many statues are there in the Ash Twin project? Do you guys remember off the top of your head?
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters. All that matters is there's 3 of them that are active. We have one. The guy on Giants Deep has one, and then I'm assuming it's the other, the Nomai that we meet on that quantum moon, or is that something else with the DLC that I'm not aware of?
I can't answer that question.
Okay, perfect. I'd love to hear that. But basically, they're trying to power. They need the power of a sun, basically, to power the
Gotcha.
Ash Twin project, and so they're going to trigger the supernova. And so when you're reading it, you're like, "Oh, got it." This whole time we've known that they need to trigger a supernova to power the Ash Twin project, and you're like, "Oh, okay." That's what makes you think like, wait, so they just did this recently then, because the Ash Twin project just went online and the statues just started working and the probe like the orbital cannon just fired. So you're like, they just did this.
Yeah.
But we've been finding their dead bodies the entire time. Turns out that they couldn't. They were unsuccessful in triggering a supernova. And one of the last things you read on the sun station is that, well, our only option is to just wait for this sun to go
explode.
supernova on its own, which is what just so happens to be happening. So the Nomai did nothing. They didn't trigger this. The orbital cannon is firing on its own because it just got powered by the supernova to then shoot the thing, to then track the eye, to do all this other stuff. And you're like, they were just waiting. Like, if they didn't find the ghost matter, all of them were just willing to just either wait it out or die or whatever, and they would have just continued being alive, which is why when you find reports that say like, oh yeah, there's life on Timber Hearth, but they're tadpoles right now. But then you're like, well, we've clearly been alive as sentient beings for a long time. Which is just like such a cool, like, holy shit, they really have been dead this whole time. And this whole thing is just basically an accident, like everything that's happening.
Yeah, that is such good writing. Like, it's so satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild.
One could say outer wild.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was right there with you. I was about to make the same exact joke. Yeah, that revelation is crazy. I was like, oh my God. It's literally no one caused anything. Like, it's just, this is the time. It's the end of the galaxy. Like, this was gonna happen no matter what. And we just happened to be in the right place at the right time to get a time loop out of it, kind of thing, which is nuts. Just crazy.
Yeah, there's a beautiful like poetry there, right? Like, I think it's like this is not in your hands, but you are given a chance to observe something that happens at the end. And I think like, as scientifically proficient the Nomai are, I do love the contrast between the Nomai and the Hartians, right? Like, the Nomai are so scientifically advanced. The Hartians are like primitive by their standards. You have like it's really cool that they have like the southern, like, like the West kind of aesthetic. And I think it's in complete contrast to the Nomai, but it's also cool that like both species are united by their like love of space and like space travel. and what the Nomai couldn't finish, you're allowed to finish just because you were in the right time for it. And a lot of signs and a lot of space is just about like being in the right time period for it.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's like being born in the right era to have the capability to be the one that could figure this thing out that people have been working on forever, but you just happen to be right there, right time.
More. Yeah.
It's really crazy, and that was such a cool moment. It's such a cool moment too because it's so like anticlimactic, right? It's just you reading some words, but everything is recontextualized immediately when you read that and be like, oh, this is what's happening. Like, there's no like music swell, there's no nothing. You're just reading, and then it clicks, and you're like, holy shit. I cannot believe this.
Yeah.
It's so cool. But that's the Sun Station. Okay, so the vessel. The vessel is what we mentioned is inside the Dark Bramble. You have to do some cool tracking and stuff that we mentioned to get there. It is a giant Nomai ship that is out of power, basically. And it has a broken warp drive. And you get a lot of information. Basically, you get the you guys could correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember finding out anything at the vessel that was necessarily like groundbreaking, right? It felt like it was just kind of reiterating things I already knew based off of the context of everything so far. But it basically is saying like it basically hints at you need to find a new warp drive, black hole like warp drive thing or whatever to power the vessel so that you can then use coordinates to find the eye of the universe, because that's the whole point of the vessel. Is that basically it for the vessel, or is there something else you guys want to talk about?
I mean, I think I already said it a little bit earlier. It's quite striking. You know, like seeing the original, seeing the Nomai ship after kind of like seeing the shuttles and then just the scale of it.
Yeah.
And then having to punch in the coordinates.
Yes. Which you find from the orbital cannon, right? You
Yeah,
find the orbital cannon pieces. Yeah. That's the one you find in Giant's Deep, right? It's in that one. Yeah.
And what's also wild is like, you know, we you think back about going on the moon with like all the planets and the planet dial that we were talking about. When you go and when you try to aim it at the eye of the universe, it can't find it. So yeah, all of this mystery kind of like leading up to this moment where you can take the ship and it just goes there and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, because
you're in front of it and then you go there and it's and then I think, you know, depending on how far you are into your loop, most likely what you'll see is the sun exploding, I think. Is it not?
I did it really fast once I like figured out what I needed to do. So I think I did it in like 14 minutes. So mine definitely did not explode. I ended up like getting to the eye of the universe and like doing that whole bit. But yeah, what I wanted to talk about real quick was we kind of mentioned it. The Sun Station, the whole purpose was firing the orbital cannon, doing all that stuff, triggering the Ash Twin project, and then getting the eye coordinates. And that's like why the orbital cannon exists, and it gets launched. And then that's why not until that exact moment do you have the coordinates to the eye of the universe, because the Nomai's last thing that they built launched a space probe out there far enough for the eye of the universe to be found. But yeah, that scene of putting in the coordinates, going to the eye of the universe hitting, and then you look out there and it's like nothing else you've ever seen in this game. And it just looks so cosmic horror-y and surreal and beautiful. And it was just like instant full body chills. Like I was like, oh my God. Like I knew what was going to happen, right? We've been messing with teleporters. We've been doing that. I was like, okay, I'm going to put these coordinates in. We're going to teleport. Cool. I did not expect to see what I saw. Like you're just like, holy crap. Like what do you mean?
I think the sights are one thing, but also the absolute silence design, I think, was also very very effective for that moment.
Yeah, is so cool. Like,
I had
yeah,
to look
just
it up. Sorry.
no, yeah, you're good. Like so we mentioned sound. I played this with like I have a Bose sound bar that I use specifically for like when I want to like immerse myself in like because I have a a pretty like not small but
Yes.
tight office. So bouncing sound around here with like a nice bassy sound bar is so sick. And my wife got so scared because like all the noises that were happening in my office, like she was like, "Your game is scary," and I'm over here like having a spiritual experience, like not being freaked out at all. And she's
Well, I
like,
mean,
"It
that's the
sounds."
wild part about it, is that when you start to get into the eye,
Yeah.
which I guess is now what we're talking about, it's
Yes.
like you start to experience all of that quantumness, and it's scary.
It is scary.
It's barren. This place is barren, and I think there's like lightning flashes and stuff like
Yep.
this, and you
Yeah.
start to see other trees and like all sorts of wild
You see
stuff, and then
you see just aspects of every planet, basically. Like all the
Yeah.
assets,
yeah,
they're just like
yeah.
recycling assets is basically what's happening. And you're
But
just
it's
like, holy crap.
it's both so scary, but like as you said, very spiritual. Like this whole thing is scary and spiritual at the same time.
It's a
Yeah.
pilgrimage, right?
You know?
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
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 And like it's scary in a way that it's like you just don't you it's scary in the sense that I guess your brain cannot handle it.
Yeah.
Your
You
brain
don't
cannot
know what's going
cannot
on.
make sense of
Yeah.
of these
Yeah.
things. So it's not scary in the sense that like you fear for your life. It's just that things that you understand, the way that you understand the universe to operate is being changed,
Yeah.
and that's always frightening. So
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
cool.
I think the first thing I did when I landed on the eye, or like once I started walking out there, was try to open the map. And like I think I did that because I wanted like some sense of familiarity or like some sense of
yeah.
yeah, I don't quite remember what happened, but I do remember to open the map. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool because I think somewhere during the eye it does zoom out in a way where like it does show you the map view.
Oh, it does this weird. Oh, yeah. So it does this thing where basically you jump into the eye storm,
Yeah, right.
and then you fall through, and then you fall through this really fucked up, like like weird, gooey.
That
like,
walk up to like figuring out what you're supposed to do, of like basically you walk through a barren, like you were saying, a barren landscape of like trees and rocks and all this stuff, and lightning's hitting, and when it flashes and disappears, the whole scenery changes, and you're just walking towards basically like what is like a dome, and then you are like, okay, where do I go? And like then you realize, oh, the thing above me, and you start walking up vertically up the dome, and then now all of a sudden up is down and left is right, and then you jump technically up, but you're jumping down into that hole. Is a crazy experience. Like, oh yeah.
And then you fall through, and then you get to the museum again, or like the tutorial, and I think that's when you can go up to the map up at the top of the museum, and that's when Abhi, you were saying like you press the map, and then it zooms out, and you see the whole eye, you see the whole thing, you see a bunch of stuff, and that's how it transitions. So this is such a great like example of game developers, like this is something you can really only do in games where it's like, to a certain extent, you invoke something and the system responds in a recognizable way, much like when you press start or whatever, you see the whole solar system. And then but here they subvert that, and like you get that, and then it like this huge zoom somewhere else, and it like changes it. And it's an interesting thing where I think it's like only games can really do this thing where like you become familiar with an interface or a surface of an instrument or something like this, and then it uses that familiarity to add something else onto it, or to subvert it, or to transform it in this case. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah. There's a really good example of this in Echoes. Where but all right, I'll stop bringing up Echoes.
No, you're perfect. You're setting me. You're making me want to go play it like right now. Like,
played during daytime, but I will say that like yeah, I think in that same way, like it shows the map, and I believe that's where like it starts. Each plan starts to disappear, and
Yeah.
there's that transition and everything, right? And I think it's really cool what it does there because like
Yeah.
um there's a thing that I think like as a game designer or as a creative director, resources are like it's a resource management game, right? Like when you think about making a game, um it's essentially okay, I want to do all of these things, but do I have the time and budget and money and all of these things, right? Like but what happens sometimes is in games you try
Mhm.
to use the same thing, like you mentioned recycling assets, and all of that. Like you try to find more mileage out of the same thing so that like you can stretch your budgets just a bit more. And I think like and when I think about that, they could have done this map planet disappearing thing any other way. They didn't have to use your map UI. They could have done it like in a full-fledged spectacle, or anything. But by doing it in the map UI, it's the most effective, right? Because it's something you've come to. That's how you've known to place yourself and the universe, and like how you see this map. And seeing that disappear one by one, I think that's like, and you've already seen the supernova from that first person view, but you've not seen it like this, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those cool things where like, yes, you could design something from the scratch, even if you have the budget and the money for it. But like by not doing that, but by using something that's already there, you can do something even more interesting, even more impactful, which I thought was a very good choice.
Yeah, it's very, it's very eldritch horror, right? It's the same but different, right? It's like, this something thing that you've been so used to this whole time, and now it's like, well, now it's going to be used to make you feel dread, basically. And it's just so cool. You were saying.
I mean, I think this is something that, you can think about, it's just something in terms of game development and especially when you have a lot of resources as a developer. It's always sure you can always invent something new.
Mhm.
You can always like try to get something cool or whatever. But I do think, kind of as we keep making games in general, you're looking, I guess, if we were to think about this in either the performing arts or in the arts, you would understand that, the zooming out into the solar system as an interface element is a gesture, is a repeated kind of gesture. And
Mhm.
it's somewhat ritualistic in the sense that you do this over and over again as a player, both to to position yourself. That like really, I guess the intent is like you do that so that you can locate yourself relative to other things,
Mhm.
and being able to see that as a gesture, recognize that as a gesture, not just as a whatever, I don't know, unrelated action, and
Mhm.
then transforming that gesture later in the game. These are options, I think, compositional options that are available to us as developers that we're discovering,
Mhm.
and like being able to take that intention and then and provide, in this case, just like a clear opposite to it. It's like if you intend as the player to locate me relative to the world, and what you get is like the vast infinites, like physically the answer is like you can't be located, right?
Yeah.
And it's really yeah, these are things kind of funny. Like I think, to a degree you think about these things. I'm sure that at Mobius, and somebody at Mobius can call me and tell me I'm wrong, or tell us that we're wrong. But I don't think they sat around a meeting room to discuss this thing. I think it
Mhm.
was discovered. It
Right.
was like it feels like an impromptu. Has the
Yeah,
energy of something that was discovered.
Mhm.
it
Um,
could have even just be like like, oh shit, what happens if the player presses the map button,
Yeah,
right?
or shit, what happens when we go hit because like that first time you go up there in the tutorial, that's the first time you reveal the map.
Map
Like
Mhm.
button,
the yeah,
right? And
like
like
or like the map up at the top of the museum, and
Mhm.
then you do it again in
yeah,
this.
that's
Yeah.
that's that's a really good point, right? It's like because when you press the map button, like it could even be logged as a bug, because
Mhm.
like, hey, when you press the map button, it throws an error because the game relies on data or the game says that you're in Giant's Deep, even though you're in the eye. And like the most straightforward way to solve that is like, oh, just disallow the player input, just disallow the but like Remy said, that's where like improvisation comes in, and like that's where you're like, wait, I see an opportunity here,
Right.
to tell the story even further. And this is why I think like I think like any hubris I've had as a creator, it's like making a game is very humbling, because it's like the idea of like being an author or like being somebody who can control every part of the experience is not true, because like a lot of the things that people have talked to me about my game that they found very compelling or very interesting has come from these improvisational moments. I didn't sit down and when the chance was presented to me, I was fortunate enough to like push it in the direction, right? But like it could have just as easily not been presented to me. And I think this is why I always say like games make themselves. And like we just have to, like when it happens, step out of its way with our ego and let it happen. Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of the story about Phil Fish with Fez, where he had to remake that game like 3 times, right? Because of he just got better and learned so much as he was making the game that he'd look back and be like, "Well, I have to do everything differently," kind of thing. And like that's what you're talking about with like, you accidentally found something, you're like, oh man, that recontextualizes everything, right? Like this is what the game is. This is what I need to be doing, kind of thing. And yeah, I like Remy, like you said, I can't imagine that decision to destroy the universe in the map was like something that was like, oh man, yeah, we've been working on this was thought about a long time ago. It was probably something like gone through a ton of QA testing and being like, oh, well, let's do a creative thing here instead of like Abhi, you were saying like, oh, we could just disable the button so that they can't check the map, but instead they're like, yeah, no, let's utilize it. Yeah, then you get like, because that's the other thing we didn't mention this whole time. Once you get to the eye, the countdown stops because the ending takes like 30-40 minutes, like once you're there. And then yeah, once that all gets destroyed, you are in the forest, and all of a sudden it like it gave me like Slender Man vibes. Like I was like, oh, all of a sudden we're in a dark forest, dimly lit with like one campfire, and there's still quantum craziness going on because you have to find the other travelers, including the one Nomai you met, and they're throughout the forest, and you got to utilize a bunch of different mechanics that you've learned throughout the game, and you just assemble them all. And I think it's implied that you basically are making a new universe, right? With the sound of the music. That's kind of what's going on, or that's how I interpreted it, at least.
I like to see it as you get to observe the creation of the universe. And much like every quantum thing, when you observe something, it gets affected by your observation also, right? And in that way, you get to influence. It is how I think I see it. But yeah, there's very much that, like when you guys are all playing the music and like that giant thing emerges and all of that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because this is the first time in much of the game where you're actually the game kind of switches modes where you're experiencing essentially what I would say is a set piece. And it's a pretty good set piece.
It's a really good set piece.
Really kind of using the mechanic of the quantum, turning your flashlight on and off to change the next thing and the next thing. To a degree, sometimes I wonder how much this affected the slideshows afterwards and echoes. Oh, spoilers. I think like this is a really, it's so like interesting economically. You basically see all of their systems. You use their systems that they've taught you to use, but they don't behave like what they behaved like before, right? And you kind of like peer into like a set of stars. You kind of like you also get the same imagery of like as you're falling, you see the little kind of stars, much like Dark Bramble, when you like look through the thing, but then it turns out to be a forest. All of that stuff. It's also harrowing, it's scary.
It is
It's so
really scary.
And also like especially the addition that you get from Echoes.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm excited now.
That one was super scary.
So does Echoes change that scene, is what you're saying? Like there's something that gets added?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's all I need to hear. That's it.
Yeah, it'll be prudent to like beat Echoes and then beat the game again. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think when you also run into a version of yourself, right? And I think that was
Oh my god, that was scary.
Yeah.
You're just like running through the forest, and then it's just like bam, you're just like right on top of each other, and you're like, oh my god, what the hell?
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
I think I'm struck by something here that Outer Wilds is in every way doing things that a lot of traditional video games do, but it does it so well and does it so differently that you don't think of those other traditional video games, right? So
No.
what I can say is, like, for example, like every world having its own like kind of gimmick or like something that's going on sets it apart. That's all like classic game design, right? And but then as you're going in the eye, there's that penultimate journey, like right in every game, like after you've kind of like gone a long journey, it does this thing like, here are your greatest hits. Remember all these places you were, it kind of does that. And I think like Outer Wilds version of like showing environmental assets from all these levels is kind of their way of doing that. And another thing Outer Wilds does really well is like, depending on how much you've discovered of the universe, of the knowledge, the endings change, right? The universe you create change. So that's Outer Wilds version of giving you like different endings, the bad ending, good ending, or all kinds of things. But it's so cool because it's like, it makes perfect sense of why these universes are created. Like, it's so simple, the explanation. Like, if you don't know about like if you didn't meet Solanum, like you can't when you observe the eye in the recreation of that universe, you don't have that information to like pass on. Right. So like, therefore I think the implication is like, she doesn't like the Nomai don't get to get birthed as a species, like or a version of the Nomai. So that is the 100% ending, right? But it's done in a way where it's like, doesn't feel like a game ending, it doesn't feel like here's your reward. It just feels perfect,
So here's a spicy thought.
Remy is very spicy this episode.
I think the secret is that I'm actually just spicy in general.
That's the secret.
That I think I sometimes think about whether I wanted to have that. They show you the kind of drawn ending, right? Like they show you like a card of like the universe that comes after. And sometimes I wonder whether I wanted to see that or not. Yeah. And to a degree that the universe that comes after is beyond our imagination. It's just not. And also outside of our perception. Throughout most of the game, you largely only see things that you see as, the Hearthian that you play. So it, like I think it, to a degree, I feel like maybe it would have been more powerful and, made a lot of other gamers more angry. So I understand why they did this. There's no doubt why I understand why they did this. But like, the game just ends, and it's over. Like, you don't get to see you don't get to experience the only thing that you get to know. The hope that you get to know is that you did affect it somehow. You just
and I think that's
how.
Interesting, right? That definitely influenced both of you, right? You both of your games end in a way where it's like open-ended, right? You're not telling us exactly what's going to be happening. With both Venba and 1,000 Times Resist, it's like, we get a little bit, this thing happened, but we don't know anything else after that, right? So, and I think in nowadays, if the Outer Wilds came out and did that, I feel like it would be received well. But like you're saying, in 2019, I think having something is better. But I think now the way gaming is as a whole, I think a lot more people are open to
Mm,
those endings being kind of quote unquote like unsatisfying, right? Where it's
yeah.
left open ended and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I know now I am, but I bet in 2019 I would have been like, what the fuck?
Ooh. Um, I think that's very valid, like what Remy is bringing up. I do think like, especially the idea of like, oh, a version of you made it,
Mhm.
is kind of how they're saying it. Does feel like it does feel like it a little bit flies in the face of like the grander narrative of the universe and how things must keep going on and changes, all of that, right? um but for somebody who was, even at the end of the eye, I was just like, wait, are you saying there's no way for me out of this and for all my little friends to be uh
My
and
little friends.
so I think that's fair, but I also do think that like they didn't just do it for the reception or like or because they
Yeah.
wondered about how people would receive it. I also think they wanted to do it this way. I think when I they're fundamentally, I think like when I there's a very strong human message of hope, like that's present throughout the Outer Wilds, and like um and I think it's their version of like coming to terms with that. I think is the best way
Mhm.
I can say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if I want to get into the crisis of cosmology. That will be for our next
Yeah,
stop
yeah.
on the
Save
tour.
some stuff. Wow,
Yeah, yeah. We will talk about Outer Wilds and the current crisis in cosmology.
that sounds
Um,
incredible.
And
and series.
I don't think I have nothing else to say about this game. Feeling like leaving off on Crisis of Cosmology is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Uh, wow, I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, so teaser for our
ex-
next road stop on
exactly,
this
yeah,
Outer Wilds tour.
exactly. Two-parter. Yeah,
official brackets unofficial.
Yeah,
yeah. Unofficial. Yes.
brackets
Well, not
unofficial
maybe,
for now,
but by the time this
unless
comes out, who knows?
unless
maybe they'll have
we
reached out.
we are
Universal.
For,
soliciting
Yeah.
Mobius to grant us to wave the wand to grant to become the official
ambassadors. Yeah.
Let
tour
us let us
road
be
tour.
let us two people who've never worked on the game
Yeah,
be
Yeah.
yeah,
official ambassadors.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's
Explaining the game to-
we can like
yeah,
get some Mobius t-shirts and
yeah,
we can make a little
yeah,
graphic. We'll do
yeah.
it pro bono. We'll make
Next
the
next
graphic
next
pro
episode
bono.
we'll put the t-shirts and everything. Like it'll be a video
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
we can make that happen. That's so funny. Okay, well, that's Outer Wilds, one of the most insane games I think I've ever played. A very rewarding. I strung together Blueprints, Tunic, and Outer Wilds in a 3 months time span of just like
yeah,
games where they're like,
that's
figure it out. Like,
mm, mm,
You had a good 3 months. Yeah.
I did. It was
mm.
really nice. It was really,
I
really
envy
nice.
you. I envy
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And I had
I,
never
I
played
still envy
Tunic
you.
before. Yeah.
I still envy you because you get to play Echoes of the Eye for the first time.
I
So
know.
Yeah, it's true. It's
I
true.
know. I'm excited. I'm excited to play that. It's going to be a just for me game. I'm not going to stream it or nothing. It's just going to be
Yeah.
me and Jess if we
An
can make
us
it
game.
work.
I was
Yeah.
Well, the
Well,
rest
maybe,
of
yeah,
us,
maybe I'll stream it to
Abby
you.
and I just have to play our own games that we're working on, so we're just suffering.
Well, yeah.
God.
Speaking of which, yeah, you guys can do your plugs. Remy, why don't you plug anything that you're able to that you're working on? And then obviously your socials and all that stuff.
Yeah, we are working on things, and some of these things will be revealed sooner than later.
Ooh.
It's not. I'll just say right off the bat to temper
Mhm.
expectations about what is being announced this year. It's not another new game, but things will be announced related to 1000 Times Resist, and then also
Exciting.
there's probably more merch and such to be announced
Very nice.
down the line,
Yeah.
amongst some other things. So, yeah, that's to be for the rest of the year. And you can find me on Bluesky at remysiu.com, and then also our official studio account, sunsetvisitor.studio.
Yep. And then you also have your Discord too, which was probably on
Yes, thank you. Join our Discord.
Yeah. That place
Join our
is
Discord.
popping.
The Sunset Visitor Discord, where there's like lots of really amazing fan artists and fan fiction writers and just very nice people in the community.
Yeah, it is a busy, busy place.
Yeah.
I don't know how you keep up with any of it.
Well, I will remind. So we're good friends with also the Black Tabby people who made Slay the Princess. Their Discord server is 30,000 people.
Jesus Christ!
So it's like the population of a small. Not even a small. There's like towns with less of population.
Yeah.
Of that Discord server. So
it's like 10% of Wyoming. I'm pretty sure.
Probably.
Yeah. There's more people in the Discord server than in Outer Wilds. So
no, yeah.
Yes. I guess there's only like 5 people.
There's more people in my Discord than there are in Outer Wilds.
There's more people in this podcast almost.
Almost, yeah. You count Craig who's recording us. That's almost that's at least half. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, you've been very busy. You've got your award show circuit and everything like that. We're all stoked for you with
thank you. Well, we actually are kind of done.
Oh,
I
nice.
think. So nice. This is now I am going to PAX West.
I know. I wanted to go to that so bad.
Exciting.
Yeah, but that's but I'm not doing anything at PAX West. I'm just
being Remy.
Around.
Yeah. So he says, and actually, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's just
maybe Abhi should come to PAX West. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just I'm trying to avoid travel to the US.
Yes, it's true, right? I keep forgetting. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I feel that. No, I feel that. I don't blame you. But Abhi, what do you got going on that you're able to talk about?
Yeah, so we're just I don't have multiple things. We're just working on one thing, which is much like Outer Wilds. It is also a video game. And the similarities end there.
Exciting.
But we're working on a video game. It's not a sequel or prequel or anything to do with our first game, Venba, but like we are very excited about this one.
Awesome.
And I don't know when we will announce or anything like that, but we're excited to share it with all of you when it happens.
Awesome.
I think I'm on Bluesky. You can just follow the Visai Games account.
All that will be in the show notes as well. And then before we go to our plugs, I want to thank you guys so much for coming back. It was a lot of fun having you guys back on. We've had you individually, and it's fun. Your guys' energy together is great. So looking forward to we'll be in touch for next year because our schedule is already packed for the rest of the year. So we'll talk a little closer to
swing around. You'll be the 56th stop on this tour.
Exactly.
When we come back around next year.
Exactly.
Will be official. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
This will have come out. We've already we paid for the advertisements and everything to get that out there. We got the campaign going. So this is by then we'll have it'll be a sponsored episode. That'd be great. But Jess, how about you hit us with our own socials, please?
You can find our website at Cody, COTI.pika, PIKA.com. Page. And all of our links will be there. You can also check in the show notes and on basically anywhere that we have a link, you can find the link to our Discord, the corner of the internet. That is what that's what Cody stands for. And you could join us there.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff on the website that shouts out our other creators, which is Phil and Logan. They have 70% complete as well as point to point. It's got my links to my Twitch stuff and my YouTube and all that. And then obviously we have Short Game, Long Talk. But thank you guys so much for listening. If this is your first time here, please leave a review on your podcast platform of choice. And if you're returning, maybe share it around and definitely go follow Remy and Abhi. Keep the tabs on all their stuff, their secret stuff that we're going to hear about hopefully sooner rather than later. But yeah, thank you so much and take care on your way.
Bye.
Bye.
I freaked out because my Dutch drink is like I've put it in the freezer because I went out earlier.
Yeah.
And I was trying to like very quietly break it up.
Yeah.
I broke a hole in the side, so when you saw me like constantly bringing it up, it was that it didn't come up to the hole and start leaking.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, I noticed. I was like, because once we hit the interloper, I was like, oh, nice. Jess is just in podcast listening mode. Like,
no, I was just trying to drink the fuck out of my drink.